everybody. Welcome to Comically Exposed, the podcast where we talk about OCD and comedy. And this is episode 25.
Woohoo.
Very much woohoo. My name is Gabbie, and that voice that you just heard is
Heather and I.
Woohoo.
Yeah.
And it is OCD Awareness Week.
It is.
Which is very cool.
Which we are fully aware of OCD all the time.
I was going to say, if you listen to this podcast, you might be aware. I guess like a redneck joke, right?
Yeah.
If you listen to this podcast, you might know that ERP stands for Exposure and Response Prevention. I'm going to send that to Jeff Foxworthy. I think he's going to use it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. $1 million.
Yep. Just somewhere. Not to me, not to him, but somewhere in the universe exists $1 million.
Yes. Yes.
All right. So we're going to kind of talk about OCD this episode.
That sounded convincing.
It did. I didn't want to make any promises that I couldn't keep, so I thought I'd sort of vague it up, as the kids don't say, but they should. How's your OCD going these days, Heather?
That sounded perfectly natural.
As did that sound. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. How are my OCDs doing today? I think things are going better. Just recently, I went through this thing with my therapist where he's extending my the time between we see each other. And there was a moment that I was like, is it because I'm really annoying when I talk? In our session, it's like, I've heard this one before, dude. I don't want to hear it again. Change the channel.
Yeah.
The other thing was, the thought was I manipulating him to think that I was doing better? And what was that? Yeah. And then the other part was, I am progressing better and need a little bit more time to kind of have more time to be able to kind of not have like guidance all the time. And I agree with him after a few weeks of thinking about this a little bit too much, because we already did the whole, we saw each other once a week. I mean, there was even a point where we saw each other twice a week.
Okay.
But now, and then for about 6 months, we've been doing once a month, which has been actually pretty good. And so now we're trying out every 2 months.
Right.
So I know it feels like I'm free falling a little bit, like not like, I have no, but then I'm realizing that he's not really
helping. Sorry.
Maybe on some things, but not everything. I mean, with the OCD stuff, it's been helpful. And he has become the voice in my head where I go, oh, yeah, that sounds like an OCD thing, where I kind of stop myself or even pause to kind of give myself a little bit of space or grace to like be able to go, maybe I don't have to be a little hard on myself about something. And so, but I'm doing that for myself, not him. You know what I mean? It's like once I see him once a week and, constantly like building this kind of like confidence. And over time now I'm starting to catch my stuff without really looking for it. That's the big part of it, is not looking for a problem. And so that's been kind of nice and has given me a lot of free time in my head, like a lot of space in my head. And so, which has been great. How about you? How are your OCDs going?
I don't know why I'm caught off guard.
I think it's because usually you ask me questions and I'm just like instantly just jumping to you. Like, no questions. Go right. No further questions. Everything I said is true.
Yeah.
No other.
Heather will not be taking questions at this time.
Yes.
Well, no, I was just thinking about you and your therapist, and I guess I didn't know that you guys had met so frequently in the beginning. I thought that you guys had only been meeting once a month, and I was like, this guy's out of his mind. You can't do that.
No.
And then I was thinking, because when I did TMS for OCD, that was going in 5 days a week, doing an imaginal, and then getting my brain zapped during the imaginal.
Yeah.
Which was very intense, but also like very, very helpful. But yeah, I guess I'm down to like once a month with my OCD group, and it's okay. I think it's okay because my OCD stuff right now is not so much the D part. That's not as disordered or like disturbing my day-to-day function. Could be wrong. but but it's more like I have a lot of stuff to do and not a lot of time to do it. And that seems to be more of the issue. Oh, and also like I would like to have money to be able to do things, but I don't have a lot of that either. So yeah. So less the OCD. I mean, I have been focused recently a little bit more on dating and stuff like that. And so that has taken up some of my time. And I am wondering, is that a type of avoidance, you know?
Yeah.
Because it does bring me joy, but I do need to finish my website for my tutoring service. And like you and I were talking about it a little bit, and it's kind of like, you know, me going for those dopamine hits, you know, of like flirting with somebody, or I'm a little competitive. I try to out banter anybody who's bantering with me. But mostly I just want them to go as fast as I am. So if they're not, then I'm like, come on, you can do it. You can do it. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
And do you think that's because a little bit of like it's the ADHD, and then also a little, but so why do you think that it's a little bit OCD or a part of your OCD, or are you worried because you're looking for something?
Yeah. I think I'm only looking right now in this moment for it to be like OCD or not. But yeah, I think the ADHD is calling the shots these days. And it's okay. Like I feel like I could focus on something if I need to, if it was like truly important to me. But I'm also, I feel a little like I just have the modern bug, you know, where the phone is so close by, Instagram exists, or the app I'm on, or Facebook Marketplace, which is hands down my favorite one. Just for our listeners, I'm looking for a dresser, light wood, possibly between 40 to 52 inches tall, about 30 to 38 inches wide, about 20 inches deep, maybe 5 drawers, you know. Maybe it sits up a little bit so I could put shoes underneath it when you first come in the door. I'm just putting it out there, you know. But anyway, like looking for that kind of stuff. And there's like a hunt quality to it. But also there isn't the part of Instagram that makes me feel bad about myself.
Yes. Yeah. The comparisons.
Yeah. 1,000% the comparisons. And it's like, oh, look at these comics or former improviser buddies of mine from the pandemic who are now have like very successful Instagram accounts where they're putting out hilarious videos. Do you know what I mean? Like what feels like all the time, but whatever. Why am I talking about this? Oh, the ADHD is taking over. Yeah, that's great. So it's just like following those dopamine hits. Yeah, less OCD. Unless it's all avoidance, and it sure could be.
Yeah. Because you're the last time you saw your therapist was a while ago now, right? Because of
the OCD therapist.
Yeah.
I want to say it was March of this year.
Yeah.
But he also was like, much like yours, was like, fly, little bird, fly. And I was like, no, I need this branch.
I can't.
Yeah.
I'm going to drown in this air.
That's right. There's too much of it. Nobody needs as much oxygen. Yeah. I did want to say that a couple years ago, I did an OCD awareness walk.
Yeah.
And it was like advertised online, and it kept being advertised to me. I don't know, through Instagram or whatever it was. And so I was like, oh my God, okay, I'll do it. And I like show up thinking it's going to be this huge thing based on all the advertising and all the stuff. And I show up, first of all, I'm late. But second of all, I'm there for the end of the talks. I guess there was a stage and talks.
No.
There's like 25 people there.
Oh.
Oh, and they tried to give me a shirt. Can't do it. I can't.
You didn't want the shirt.
Did you go through a phase like in your 20s where like free shirts were like so cool?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then you hit a point and you're like, I don't like these shirts. It says Chase credit card on it, and I don't need a shirt that says anything on it.
Yeah, I'm pretty selective about the t-shirts. Usually I pay for them because I actually want them, and then they all end up becoming night shirts. So
right, the natural progression of the life of a shirt.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're comfy. I want to sleep in them. That's the shirt.
Yep. Exactly. And it's like no amount of me being like, well, no, the Chase card shirt can just be a pajama shirt.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
No, it can't. It's real itchy.
Also, we are advertising the walks for IOCDF on our links page. Currently at the moment.
Amazing. I'm not sure that this particular walk was associated with the IOCDF. It was like, I don't know. I think it was just somebody with some graphic design skills and time.
Yeah. I missed the one for my area this year, but it looked really well attended. So I think I'm going to try to go next year because it would be nice to meet others in the community in my area. So, but it is kind of disappointing.
Yeah.
That potentially, that, I mean, I guess 25 people is better than none.
Oh no, for sure. It was also maybe 2022, maybe 21. So it was kind of like we were all like, people,
don't come near me.
Don't come near me. Don't breathe on me. Yeah. We're all still wearing masks outside,
Yeah, that was still happening then. That's true.
Even though it was like so windy, and it was like, it can still happen. That, and also the IOCDF conference, I think in 2020, it was online. It was supposed to be in person, and then it got moved online. And so I got to attend, and that was unbelievably helpful. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Like just to be able to attend all the workshops and all the different flavors of OCD that were being talked about. There's also workshops on like psychedelics and how that could help and all different modalities. And it just made me feel better about things, Did you go?
No, because at that time I was not formally diagnosed.
No. But I mean, like, did you go to one recently?
Oh, yeah, I did. I think we talked about it last year about this time.
Oh, okay.
I think
you're probably right.
I don't know. It might have been. I attended. Yeah, no. I'm trying to remember back a year. I think the one that I attended was maybe in November or October or something like that.
Yeah, because now they like specifically have an online one and they have an in-person one.
Yeah, and that was so eye-opening and helpful, and almost like for me, I felt like I was being seen.
Yeah,
like it was like, oh my God, finally somebody explaining something. Because it's like when you read stuff online, sometimes it can be confusing because you're like, I'm not that, but I get what they're saying. But then when you start to learn more about OCD and the mechanics of it all, then you start to go, oh, that makes sense. Like even if somebody had contamination or, or relationship OCD or other things like that, there's a similarity to like what spurs it, right?
Yeah.
The, obsession or the intrusive thought or the feeling, the shame, the whatever. And
Yeah.
then the follow-up of the compulsions that can be like ruminations, or checking or making sure things are just right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the repeat of it all and finding ways of disrupting it was the one that I learned. I remember from last time it was called penny sock. I think we talked
Right.
about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we did
Yeah.
talk about that. I think we talked about it on the
Yeah.
pod. Yeah.
And so since then I've been trying to find new ways of figuring out different ways of disrupting myself.
Like putting a penny in your sock and then walking around, for listeners who are wondering.
Yeah. Yeah. Or, another one that I mentioned before was brushing my teeth with my left hand,
Right.
which is my non-dominant hand, and trying to be present with it, despite how difficult it might have been. But I tried doing something, even if it's really tiny, to try something new every day. Is always been a goal. I don't do it all the time, but I do it enough now that it becomes a little bit of a habit now where I'm just like, oh, maybe instead of getting that usual turkey sandwich, like I try, this, I don't know, like a veggie sandwich or something like that, or get something different on it or use a different condiment or whatever. And it seems small, but in reality, those little changes, bring that kind of disruptive. It's like, oh, maybe I didn't like it, but I tried it,
Yeah. And
and
it
so that's,
puts more freedom in your life.
oh yeah, it
Yeah.
does. It does. Because I'm not much of a risk taker.
No, the OCD people, we're not known for our risk taking.
No, that's very much a more of a ADHD community habit, right? But yeah,
Can
because
be.
it
Yeah.
can be. Not everybody, not to generalize. Not everybody is like that.
Hey, this is an ADHD awareness week. You know what I mean? We can
We don't
shit
have
on
to
them
be
all we
aware of
want.
that.
Yeah.
No, but it's just more about like, because we avoid risks like the plague, right? It's like anything to not do, to not cause harm, to anybody else, and then our worlds become really small.
Yeah.
But a lot of the bad things happen in small places and small doses, they're just kind of like the anomaly rather than the actual focus. And I think sometimes our brains forget that. Yeah, that was weird. Why did I go there?
No, that was good. That was great. Because
Okay.
we were talking about the conference and then you were talking
Oh
about
yeah, the conference.
disruption
Yes.
that you learned. And
Yeah.
yeah. No, I
Yeah.
totally agree. And I think that is actually what's going on with me and OCD is like my life is so disrupted since the move that I'm actually trying to put my routine back together, which is so important for the ADHD part,
Yeah.
but not be like tied to that routine, which is so important for the OCD part. And so I'm doing something different every day, which is disruptive. And so it does feel very freeing, but at the same time, a little unmooring.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is the feeling that you get to sit with, right?
Yep. It is. It is.
And
And my OCD has been trying it with some intrusive thoughts that are just like horrendous. Yeah. Which, we've all had just a sudden thought that was like about a family member and then like a sexual act or something like that and just gone like, no.
I didn't need that.
I didn't. Nope. But then the OCD aspect is like, why did I think that? What does it mean about me? That must have some deeper meaning. That must be, blah, blah, blah. And so I did find myself because it was like, I don't know, lately they've been like really like, oh, that's not a good thought. That's very bad. And so then I judge the thought, which means I ascribe some kind of meaning in order to judge something, right? And then now that it has meaning, what does that say about me? And then but I do catch myself very early on and go like, that was an intrusive thought. So let's keep moving on with our day, because otherwise, if we try and get to like the kernel of truth that came in that thought, there's no kernel. It's just an onion. It's just gonna be
Yeah.
layers, 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 and everybody stinks.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. That, yeah. Yeah. I know that one very well, very intimately, to feel those thoughts. And, you know, one thing that I also do when you kind of like catch it is to not name it intrusive thought, to
Oh,
name it
interesting.
thought.
Yeah.
I don't know if that helps with anything in terms of the mechanics of your, your brain, because I realize that some part of this I can't control at all, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you can't control an intrusive thought coming into your head, but I try not to assign good or bad to the
Yeah.
thought, because and this is just what I've done in practice, only because I'm like, because I know as soon as I think it's bad, the
Yeah.
emergency lights turns on in
Yeah.
my head.
Right. Totally.
And then it's like, I need to do something to make this feeling go away.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's that whole holding it loosely instead of like white knuckling it into submission of some kind. Yeah.
Trying to find some sort of control with it.
Yeah.
You know, like, I'm not a bad person. I'm
Yeah,
not a bad person.
Yeah.
I'm not a bad person.
Well, I mean, lately the intrusive thought would come and it would be like so horrendously graphic that I would go like, whoa. And then my reaction to my reaction was just like a laugh. Like, oh my God. Because
that's the best.
There's nobody else here. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I'm having this like huge emotional roller coaster just fucking out of nowhere. And if somebody was watching me, they would be like, no, she can't live by herself. That's a danger. That's a danger to her. But then it just makes me giggle so much. And then I do thank my brain. I go like, nice try. Yeah, that was something. You did
That's a good
something
one.
there. Yeah. Not my favorite, but I mean, keep them coming.
Yeah. I hate
we'll
the times. Oh yeah. No, yeah. I hate the times where it ping pongs a bunch of them.
Oh yeah.
So if that one thought didn't get you to grab onto it, how about this one?
Yeah,
what about
exactly.
that? What about this? What
Oh,
about
dude.
that?
And then I had a nightmare, a full-on nightmare about that kind of topic. And it was like I kept choosing to do things that in my life I would not choose to do.
Yeah.
But it was like, since I chose one, then I had to choose the next, then I had to choose the next, and I had to choose the next, and just consistently chose against my values.
Yeah.
And I just kept feeling worse and more awful and more trapped and more disgusted with myself. And it was just like really awful, and like woke up unsure if it was a dream or reality, right?
Oh, yeah.
Which happens a
Yeah, it
lot.
does. It does.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have the same thing.
I was like,
Yeah.
I think it's just like if you have trouble with sleep, then we have trouble with dreams too. Cause it's like, are you reality? And so it took me like 5 minutes to realize that I wasn't on like a sexual predator list.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And that I could continue with my life. But like, it shook me to my freaking core. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that sucks.
It really does. But then I was wondering, well, what is the difference between like an intrusive thought and a nightmare that plays against your values, you know?
Yeah, I don't know, but I'm assuming because it comes from our brain, it's likely the OCD. So that's,
Yeah.
it's because either you've been avoiding the thought or trying to tamp it down or not paying attention to it enough. And it's like, guess what? We're going to bring it into a dream.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah.
Well, because it's like things that because that's what OCD attaches to, is the things that you most value, right?
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, it's just creating these kind of I don't really understand why it does it, but it creates a really inappropriate, intrusive thought. And the thing about people with OCD is that they're probably the least likely to
Right.
act on any thoughts like
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
And it's just, whew,
Yeah.
yeah,
So tough.
it is tough. And
Yeah.
you just shared very vulnerably. Thank you very much.
Ah, thank you for hearing it. Thank you for holding space. Deal with it, listeners, because I didn't tell you that was going to happen. So, I do actually very briefly want to talk about comedy.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
We are comically exposed.
Right. Aren't we all? You're born comically exposed and you die exposed comically.
Yes, true.
So the whole reason that I moved was for this comedy club, specifically for their open mic nights, and they are going out of business at the end of the month, which is just, I get it,
true
universe.
Comedy.
Yeah. Very specific. But anyway, so I've gone to the past 3 open mics, not to perform, just to see what the vibe was. And I think we talked about it. I don't know if we talked about it on the last podcast. Did we talk about the ventriloquist, or did I just talk to you guys on the thread about the ventriloquist? Regardless, there was a ventriloquist who came to the open mic night. And so it's like, on some level, I need to stop the perfectionism and actually like throw my name into the hat, so that I go and do some stand up.
Sounds good.
Yeah. And after going for 3 weeks, it's like I kind of see the same people. I see who tries new material every time. I see who just does like the same set of jokes, you know, that kind of thing. Yeah, so that's good. I mean, and also it's shutting down. So what are the stakes, you know?
Yeah, truly. I mean, do you need like a deadline? Like a day that you're going to set? You're going to say, I'm going to do stand up on X day.
Yeah, well, it can't be this week. So I suppose I could do it week after next. Yeah. I don't know what day that is, but it's on a Thursday, all these open mic nights. So
yeah. So let's see. Next. Okay. So it's the second to last Thursday of October. So it's the 24th of October, because the following one is the 31st. And I don't know if you want to do a Halloween set. But
I mean, always, but
yeah.
All right, I'll give it a shot. I mean, so that means I have to like go through my notes app and actually gather, you know, some jokes. As I was on a date the other night and the guy was like, "Oh, you want to do stand up?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, I don't mean to be that guy, but we do a joke?"
Like the worst question to ask anybody in comedy, because there's like no context.
Yeah.
It's like,
I know. And the only joke I could think of is so my best friend is queer and I'm just so jealous, you know, because it's not that queer people, it's not that I think that queer people are like better than us heteros, because they obviously are. That's not the problem. The thing is, I just, for once in my life, I would just really, really love to know what it's like to have sex with somebody of a gender I respected. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, so I said that to his face and on a date. Yeah.
And then you never saw him again.
Exactly. He was like, "Oh," I'm like, I mean, no offense, but we had just seen like a bunch of open mic male comics.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like guys that are like, I own a bar of soap and a moisturizer, and that's my entire shower routine or something. And it was like, okay, man. Okay. Or like
What a
like
brag.
what a brag. And also like shampoo,
I know.
conditioner, do you have a washcloth? Like how often do you wash your towels, you know? Like bragging that they don't. And it's like, all right. Yeah, or like the transphobic jokes that
Oh
were both
God.
misogynistic and transphobic. And it's like, none of us community of women want to touch you. It doesn't matter if there's cis or trans in front of our name. You are presenting yourself as not somebody we want to touch. So,
yeah. It's interesting that you can have that much confidence in yourself and then try to tear people down.
yeah.
Yeah.
And also they would try and turn the joke as if it was also homophobic too. It was just like,
So are they an incel?
dude, they showed up with their girlfriend.
Oh.
Yeah. And you're like,
now the focus is back on the girlfriend. Like,
I know. I
are
was
you
like,
okay?
yeah, exactly. Blink.
Are you here at your
Blink
own
if
will?
you need. Yeah.
Can I see your hands? Make sure
Yeah.
they're not tied.
Exactly. And it was amazing. It's like, but I guess that's a type of comic, right? Who just kind of goes for what they think will get a laugh, but doesn't actually reflect who they are in any way, shape, or form, right?
Yeah. 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 I guess it takes all kinds.
Including that ventriloquist who literally their first joke was, I'm not a puppet, you're the puppet, you know?
That's a old classic from the 1920s.
The ventriloquist was also from the 1920s, but the man had like put a bandana around its head. It wasn't great. More recently, there was a guy who was wearing a tux, elder gentleman, whose starting jokes were about a cyber turkey zone. And you'd think like, oh, cyber trucks. No, he was talking about actual turkeys and then did like a turkey call. It was very confusing. And he was in a tux.
I think he was confused.
Yeah. It was like,
yeah. No.
He also said that he just got out of a 24-year marriage on bad behavior.
Oh, that classic.
Yeah.
Because marriage is jail.
Yeah, exactly. And it was like,
God.
Again, nobody wants you, dude.
Like, I think you already have your set here. I think you have a set.
I know. It's all
and that's
just
your
like,
catchphrase.
What?
Nobody wants you, dude. Yeah, you could just go bazinga.
Yeah.
Or something. Nobody wants you.
Yeah. Nobody wants you, dude. Yeah.
Or you can do another set. I'm just saying.
No. I love it. I actually love it. I was just thinking about how like I bring my notebook to each one of these open mics because in the past, I've gotten like very inspired and been like, oh, this is a great joke I could do. But all it is for these open mics is me just roasting the comics on stage and their material,
Yeah, welcome to Gabbie Blachman's roast.
Yeah, exactly.
Of every other comic in this room.
That's right.
I haven't been on stage for a year, and I have opinions.
That's right. And they are strong.
Yes.
Get ready to cry. Yeah. That's so funny. One woman who her last set, the end of her set was she was going to visit her mom in Sacramento. And right before the timer buzzed and her mic got cut off, she said, "My mother doesn't like me." Right? Okay. So I don't know if that was a setup. I don't know if it was a punchline. It was something. And then we never heard from her. So anyway, she went on the other night and she said that her mother was in the audience
Oh,
I know.
interesting.
Very interesting. And then she said, so I'm not going to swear or anything. And then proceeded to say that, ladies, you need a man who treats you well because you hold all the power. And then sort of gestured to her crotch. So I don't know how it is
that
in
less
family.
offensive than like swearing.
It was kind of
and just gesturing to that region over and over again.
Over and over again, and kind of repeating herself. And then she asked a man in the audience, she was like, hey, you want to take me out? And he was like, sure. And she was like, oh yeah, you're going to take me someplace to go eat? Or I don't know what she said. And he was like, yeah, absolutely. And she goes, oh yeah, you going to buy me things? And he was like, and she goes, because I can buy myself things. And I was like, okay, now we're in the therapy session. This isn't
this is no longer comedy anymore. This is pure therapy.
Pure therapy. This poor man was just sitting in the audience minding his business. And she just like goes off on a tangent, but like directed at this man who at this point just has his hands up like
I just came to see a show.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. And it's like, oh, wow. And then as she's going through all the reasons that she's not going to date this man, her mic gets cut off because she runs out of time again. And I was just like, all right, I guess you can do therapy on mic, you know?
That's great. Yeah. They pay you to do therapy for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I like that idea.
Yeah, I hope she works it out with her mom, though. It's like, okay.
With so much crotch pointing. It's like,
yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I'm like, well, don't swear, but please refer to your genitals.
Yes, yes. Over and over again, aggressively.
There were quite a few women in this open mic night, which was really cool. One of them just did these like one-liners which weren't particularly good, but she had the biggest smile on her face after every one and like would laugh at her own jokes to the point that I was laughing at her response to her own jokes. And I was like, kind of great.
It's a tactic that 2 and 3-year-olds use.
Yes.
It works.
1,000%.
Yeah. It's like, look at that. It's like, yeah, that's funny.
Yeah. I made a fart noise with my mouth.
Exactly.
Hilarious.
I know. I make myself laugh with that. So
anyway, that's my comedy update. What's going on with you in comedy? If you don't have to talk about it if you don't want to, but I am interested.
Yeah, I like to be extremely secretive about everything on this podcast, so nothing is being told. No, so I have this plan of doing a spec script a month.
Yes.
And I unfortunately have not done the October one very well because and I'm judging myself. I am fully aware that I'm judging myself, but I'm just going to say it as it's showing up in my head. I haven't worked on it, even though I do have an idea and I couldn't figure out what show to do, except from yesterday when I was talking to you yesterday. So I'm going to give you a little props here because I have an idea of the show that I want to do for November and December episodes, but I don't have one for October. And I was like, there is no way I could do the same show because literally I could write the same show with this idea that I have. And Gabbie actually said to me, hey, it sounds like you just wrote yourself a little rule there. Why can't you do Bob's Burgers in October and November? And I went, I could. But then I took it a step further.
Okay.
And then I made another rule on top of that was to not write what we do in the shadows. Because I already wrote spec scripts twice. Yeah, for that. And all of a sudden an idea came to my head. And I'm going to write another shadows.
Yay!
Book
Yes.
script for October because it is their final year. And I just felt like, why the fuck not? I'm
Yes.
just going to write it, and it can be terrible. And, but it should be a lot of fun. And so, and even though it's, halfway through the week, or the month, I'm still going to write it. So, yep.
Yes.
So whatever it looks like, it's going to be whatever it is. And then I'll start the next one. And then I'll start the next one again in the beginning of the month. Because the intent is to try to do something, even if it's messy, just to get kind of like a footing again to more writing in my life. So
I feel that.
Yeah. And the other part of that is that, and the part that was like stressing myself out, it's kind of like not being able to see the small steps do anything. And so then you're just like defeating yourself and telling yourself, I don't have to do any of the steps because none of them are going to work. But not doing any writing, not doing any of the little steps is kind of frustrating to me. And I'm missing that kind of creative life. And so I'm returning back to it, which is kind of nice. Yeah. So it's kind of a nice achievement to kind of come back to it. So I'm glad that you're going back to yours as well with doing stand-up. Even though I set the deadline for you.
I know. Well, that's fine. Listen, I called out your rule. You gave me a deadline. That's what this partnership works. Yeah.
That's true. It's the accountability buddy system.
See? You aren't the accountability buddy.
Yeah. Yeah. TM?
It might be.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Somebody's trademark. Anyway.
Yeah. Certainly on that website. What was I going to say about it? I love that you figured out that you had another role.
Yeah. I didn't realize it until I started rethinking it. And I go, this storyline would be perfect for Nandor and Laszlo. And I went, no, I can't do that. And I went, can I not do that? And that was where the questioning came from. And then Gabbie's voice came up again and said, sounds like a rule. And I went, oh, yeah, that could be a rule. And realized, why the fuck not? Like, why not do it? Why not write, another one and, write 100 more.
Yeah.
After that, after it's been over and the season's gone and I'm still keeping it alive by writing more What We Do in the Shadows.
Those fan fiction sites need new material. It can't all just be like Harry Potter and Draco Malfoy getting it on, Got to break new ground.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm excited.
Good. That's exciting. Yeah. I can't wait to read it.
Yeah. Pew, 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 pew. I don't know what we're doing, but this is fun.
Shoot, there was something I wanted to say about something you said. That's it. That'll be my catchphrase for the stand-up. Sounds like a rule.
Sounds like a rule. You don't want to do a total roast on your first time on stage.
I know. That's the thing. I very much do. But I'm like, you want friends, right, Gabbie? And I'm like, but maybe that's how you make friends in comedic circles, Hang on for 1 second. The Blue Angels are in town, and I hate them. I hate them with a passion. What's fun is they were practicing yesterday, and I have students in various parts of the Bay Area all on Zoom. And so they would, basically buzz my apartment, and I couldn't hear anything for 30 seconds. And then I would be talking to my student oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. That was the Blue Angels. And then the Blue Angels would come and buzz wherever they were because they're going real fast.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I guess this is kind of a bonding moment, but I hate it. I hate loud noises.
Yeah, we have the Blue Angels, but ours is in August.
Yeah. Do you guys have Fleet Week as well?
Yeah. It's called oh God, what is it called?
Sailors Are Us.
Oh, Seafair.
Oh, that's really cute.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bud, can you stop licking? Thank you. Bunny just had to get in on the pod. Yeah, the Fleet Week here, I don't think I've ever been in San Francisco for or seen sailors. It's just been the Blue Angels bumming me out for like 4 days.
Disrupting you
Yes.
at every moment. Yeah.
Yeah. Were you and I talking about like the overlap between like on the spectrum and ADHD sometimes? Anyway,
I bet we talk a lot about things, and I don't know what ends up in the podcast or what ends up in a conversation.
Yeah, I know. But I was thinking about it's like, oh yeah, I don't like loud noises, crowds.
I don't like
crowded
crowds.
spaces.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is that a little spectrumy? Might be.
Could be. Yeah.
But anyway, you know. I mean, could be. It's like, what am I going to do about it? Nothing.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
That's cool.
Does it change anything?
No. Not really. Not.
So are we at the end?
I think we're at the end. But I did just want to say it's OCD Awareness Week. So ignore your ADHD, ignore your spectrumness, ignore your anxiety, depression, bipolar, borderline, schizophrenia. Just put all that on the back burner.
Yeah, just focus on OCD.
That's right.
Be aware of your OCD.
I would ask the narcissist to do it, but they can't.
No.
Not something they can do.
No, not something they can do. This got weird.
Yeah, that's great. Or just dissing other mentals. Not people, just flavors of mentals.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe we do start fighting. Like I start fighting with all the comics. You and I, as a podcast, start fighting with like other people with different mental flavors.
Yeah, it seems like our personalities.
It does. So combative. I think that's the subtitle of our podcast.
Gabbie and Heather get combative.
Yes. Right.
Yes.
And not in the way you think.
No, not at all.
Slamming that. Well, I still have OCD. How about you?
Yeah, I still have OCD too. So
people be aware.
No, but it is good. It is good to get the word out there in terms of when you try to explain to somebody about your OCD, but not really explain everything because it totally repulses them and would probably make them run out the door and go, oh my God, why do you think that?
Yeah.
There must be something wrong with you, because that's already what we think, right?
It is what we think.
About the thought. Yes.
Okay. Very, very quick. So I worked at a summer camp for forever. And 1 year, like we had never done this before. There was this couple who was hired to come talk to us during the training week for all of the staff. And they just kind of railed on like, if you are thinking anything like untoward about children, or like if you're thinking of abusing children, like leave. But then they also were really drilling down on the point of like, if you have any thoughts of hurting a child in these like ways, then you should get in your car and leave the camp and never come back. And it was like, oh, that's interesting, because it's like for OCD people, like we have the most horrendous thoughts. And it turns out most people haven't horrendous thoughts because they're just thoughts, right?
Yeah, they are. They're just thoughts.
And then it's just like we've been talking about, ascribing meaning to it. And I was just like, upon learning about OCD many years later, like, I wonder if anybody who truly would never, ever, ever in a million years, right? But because they've have intrusive thoughts that scare the crap out of them, actually have left, and quit summer camp.
Yeah, could be.
This.
I didn't. You're like, you can't hear them.
I know, exactly. I'm like,
Yeah, I think because it's the one thing to think them, it's another thing to have action towards them. And
Right.
anybody with OCD doesn't act on them at all.
No. We are just paralyzed in fear about ever potentially acting on them.
Yeah, and that if we would have the capabilities of doing that, or even the mechanics of doing it, it's just like, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ick.
Yeah. And it is the ick. And so it's the destigmatizing the thought of like, what is OCD, because the challenging part is people think it means organizing cookies in a jar, or stuff like that. And there is some counting elements to some OCD, but again, the mechanics of it, is intrusive thought, feeling emotion, stuff like that. And then the need to cover the thought with a compulsion, checking, rumination. Yeah. It's just, and that awareness is important.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Because it's hard to describe.
It truly is. And I like, my family who, thank you guys for listening to the podcast. They have said that, it really has enlightened them on what's going on for me. Right. And OCD in general, because, like you were saying, it shows up in so many different ways.
It does.
And not always easy to articulate. Because if it's something that you are terrified of, why would you be out here sharing it?
Yeah, that's true. Because people can take it the wrong way.
They can take it the wrong way, or it jinxes it, because I think OCD has some superstition to it. And so then it's going to actually come true, right?
Yep.
Yes. So OCD awareness. Woohoo!
We're aware.
We're doing gestures.
Yes.
All right. Well, I'm glad to be aware of your OCD.
Yeah, I'm glad to be aware of yours as well.
Thank you. And, at some point we're going to have like a phone number or something, and then people can call in and tell us about their OCD. Then we'll be aware of that.
We do have access to voice on our website. There is, a contact us where you can leave us a message by typing it up or talking to us and leaving us a long voicemail message.
Don't give them any ideas. Listen, if
I want them to. It needs to be at least 2 hours.
Yeah, don't take a breath. Don't drink water. 2 hours, or we're not listening. And that's on our comicallyexposed.com.
Yep, on our website. Yeah,
cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for setting that up. Thank you for listening, listeners, and have a really good week, whether you're aware of OCD or not.
Yeah. Have a good week, everyone.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Welcome to the end of the show. This is Gabbie Blachman.
And this is Heather Nye.
Thank you for listening to Comically Exposed. We're just a little show with two creators who edit and produce each episode. We appreciate all your support.
If you like what you heard, please follow us on Instagram at comicallyexp.podcast. That's comicallyexp.podcast.
Oh, and check out our website at comicallyexposed.com. That's one word, comicallyexposed.com,
where you can contact us by text or even leave a voice message.
Or subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. New episodes drop every other Wednesday.
Also, special thanks to Track Club and Goldenfinch for providing the music.
Thanks for listening. And hey, everybody, today is a great day to expose yourself. Okay, until next time.
In your face, Miriam.